So thank you again for joining me for today's webinar on leveraging Laserfiche to generate proposals. Today's webinar will be recorded and available through our YouTube site following today's session. So if you get distracted, it will still be available to you down the road. So what we're going to look at today is we're going to go through the process overview. So the demo that I'm going to walk you through, I'm going to talk you through initially. Then we're going to dive into the software features that are required to build out the functionality, take a look at the live demo, do a recap of why this is so important and how it's useful, and different ways that you can incorporate more automation into the process. And then we'll finish it up with questions. So in a real basic view, we are going to look at onboarding a new client in our Microsoft Dynamics CRM. Our integration with the CRM is available through a number of different CRMs, so you don't have to be using Microsoft Dynamics to engage and leverage this functionality. Then we're going to fill out a Laserfiche form, which will create a proposal template for us, a live Word document that we can make edits and changes to. It's going to create some information in our CRM. It's going to store a copy of the documentation in our repository. It's going to track it all and archive it all. And it's going to be fast. So in all, this demo will go pretty quickly. So the software that is required for this process is Laserfiche, obviously. Laserfiche Forms Professional is going to be really important in this scenario. Workflow, a SQL table, or some other database connection, and then the CRM integration with workflow activities. Again, you don't have to use just Microsoft Dynamics. You could be using Salesforce, Tamarack, Salentica. Any of those would work the same way. And then I like to always throw in that you can make Forms Portal optional. So anytime you're collecting information and then you're going to ultimately provide it to a client or an end user, if you want to engage them and allow them to make changes and interact with your process, you can do that by creating the form and making it Forms Portal accessible. So again, Laserfiche Forms is just the web application that allows organizations to collect, process, and route information. So we're going to take a look at our quoting tool today. It's tied in directly to our CRM as well as some other SQL databases to help us pre-populate costs and generate the address info, contact info, everything that we might need. So again, Forms Professional is required for this automation process, mainly because of the database lookup capability to auto-populate fields and things like that. So the form that I show again is going to have a live, drop down from our CRM that allows us to pull in information and display it to us in a relevant way. So Forms Professional will be a requirement. Workflow, again, workflow behind the scenes is what is going to take the information that we fill out in the Laserfiche form, grab it all, and then push it into our fillable template. Now, if you are using Laserfiche Rio, Avante, or subscription, any self-hosted version of Laserfiche with workflow, you have the ability to create this documentation either in a fillable Word document or have it push into a fillable PDF. So again, if you've got documents along the way that you populate or want to be able to populate as part of an automation process, you can leverage workflow to do that with either your Word documents or your PDFs. Got a lot of options. Again, we are going to be building this automation with our Dynamics CRM integration. So our Dynamics CRM integration does a couple of different things. First and foremost, and how we initially built the integration out is that we've got this embedded iframe into our Laserfiche system. So when you're on an account or a lead or some entity within your CRM and you want to view the documents that are associated with that account, you can do so with our Dynamics integration. And again, these integrations from CDI, the Salentica, the Tamarack, Salesforce, they're all through and available with a self-hosted system only. So again, that Avante, Rio subscription, even United Systems can take advantage of this. If you're not sure, definitely please reach out and ask. We are here to help. But we've got this embedded iframe, and then we also have the ability to interface with workflow activities. So in our workflow module, there are a set of activities that we can use to query our CRM for information. Any entity, whether it's custom or out of the box with your CRM, we have the ability to push and pull information from with our integration. Then the Forms portal. So some of you on today are clients of ours, and maybe if you've attended the Empower conference, you've interfaced with one of our public-facing forms. So again, the Laserfiche Forms portal allows you to create a form that allows you to collect whatever information you want and make it publicly accessible. So users outside of your organization can submit information to you. And they can also include attachments. So if you are, onboarding a new client and you need copies of statements, whatever it might be, you can customize this form to your needs and include attachments. We're also going to be leveraging a SQL table. So this is just a Google SQL table image because I am not the most technical and I could not find ours. But we have all of our pricing information pushed into a SQL table, which allows us the ability to generate and use forms for building our proposals. So this process that we're looking at today is something live that the CDI team uses every day. I cannot express enough how much time this has saved me, from having to, in the past, find the most recent proposal template, build a quote in whatever program it was, slap it into my proposal, add any additional information, and then send it off. This process makes it so much easier because I fill out a Laserfiche form, the proposal comes to me in the latest and greatest format every single time, and then I can make updates and send it off from there. So it's a one-stop shop and saves a lot of organizations' time. So we are going to jump right into the demo. So as I mentioned, this is a live action activity that we do every day. And so we are going to onboard a new account, and I'll show you how this all works. Capital records. So we're just plopping them in here. I'm going to add a new contact. We're going to onboard Tina Turner. Save. Then we're going to make Tina our main contact. Then save this. So now we have our new account record here in our CRM. I would be able to engage the Laserfiche embedded iframe. I do not have mine set up for accounts quite yet in this way, but it will come later on down the road. So otherwise, if you had it and you wanted it right away, you could use this embedded iframe to create your standardized client folder structure. So then I'm going to jump into forms. And what I like to start with, again, is another tool that we use regularly here at CDI, which is our dashboard. So this dashboard is actually a Laserfiche form customized to display the information we want in the way that we want it. So, a lot of organizations use an intranet, kind of like a SharePoint or, some other applications like that. But sometimes those are really cumbersome and really hard to configure. Whereas Laserfiche, as some people know, it's very approachable. Once you have the functionality built out, you've had some training, this is something that you could do and maintain on your own. So here is just our dashboard. Each department has their own set of tabs for, managing whatever information they need on a regular basis. So these are just different links to maybe Laserfiche forms or different Laserfiche processes that we do. We do a lot of account meetings and appointment recaps. So every time we connect with a customer, we have the ability to fill out a form that will create the activity for us in the CRM, store a copy of it in Laserfiche if we need to, and then notify other team members that, hey, you have an action you need to take. So you have the ability to, submit an appointment recap. We're not going to do that today. We are just going to focus on our quoting tool. So here's our form, and like most forms and all forms really, you have the ability to leverage this form and have it be dynamic. So as you make selections in your form, it will change with you. So I'm going to say this is for a prospect, and this is going to be for capital records. Capital records, here we go. And then normally it will pull in the contact for you. And so if you had multiple contacts listed in your CRM, it would pop up with, all of the different contacts that you could select. Here, because I'm in a demo environment or in my lab environment, I don't know why it didn't, but we've got Tina Turner populated. I have the ability to identify whether I want to do a quote or a proposal. So a proposal is going to have a lot more information than a quote does. We're going to start with a proposal. And then I can choose, what sections of information I want to quote out. So am I going to quote out just new Laserfiche software? Am I going to quote out professional services for configuration, anything like that? Or, is our customer interested in hosting? So I have the option to selectively choose each one of these. And as I click it, it gives me new options below. So if I unselect services, that section goes away. So I am going to try and engage you all in a poll. This is new to me, so bear with me. I want to know what software platform of Laserfiche you want me to quote. So go ahead and click what you want to see. All right. So it looks like we have a tie. I'm going to close this. So I think that I just close it. Oh, it was a tie between Rio and Cloud, but Cloud snuck ahead at the very end. So we're going to go ahead and quote that out today. And again, if you have an existing Laserfiche system and you want to, maybe consider moving to another platform, please reach out to the CDI team. We are more than happy to walk you through what your options are, what's available, all of that. So we are going to go with Cloud. So this is my Cloud platform. Otherwise, again, you can see I can select any of these others. And as you saw, as I selected Cloud, this is just notes for us. We use this form every day, and we have, we onboard new account managers and new account executives all the time. And so this is just a handy dandy note that dynamically pops up when I make my selection, letting me know how I need to reference my quantities in my quote. Additionally, we have the state that our account is located in so that we can calculate the tax rate. Now, I just want to mention that this is something that you could take one step further if you have, standardized taxes that you might have to apply across the board to, whatever service or, software you are providing. Ours is, it varies greatly between state to state, product to product, and whether it's a renewal or not. And so this is something we just chose to manually keep. So I'm going to add some users in here in my section. This goes along with my Laserfiche price sheet. I'm just going to go ahead and select users. Cloud comes with multiple different tiers if that's of interest to anybody. There's business tiers, professional tier, and then just the basic tier. And those all contain different features and functionality depending on what you need. So I'm going to do professional user tier, quantity of 10 users. And we can see here that it quoted out our price, and then over here it extends the actual line total. Any of these little question marks, again, are also just helpful hints. So if you need to know like what's being calculated, or if you need to include a note of, what's happening in the form, you can certainly do that. If I wanted to make it taxable, I would just click this and I would say 10% tax rate. And then down here at the bottom, it's calculating my total for me as I go. So I can see that's my licensing cost, tax cost, my total cost. So we will add for funsies the forms portal because everybody should have that. Taxable 10%. And then since this is a new system, we're going to go ahead and add some professional services. I'm just going to do, hourly consulting. You're going to need maybe 40 hours of time. And, if you do anything with taxes, again, sometimes professional services aren't taxable. So I'm just going to leave it as a no. Installation and configuration. So I'm going to show you where this pops up in the proposal when we go through it. And again, as you saw, as I added new lines, it updated my total for me. Now I can see that I have a complete cost from the software cost to the services cost down here. So I'm going to go ahead and submit this. And what's going to happen now, again, is it's going to create a folder structure for me in Laserfiche if it didn't already exist, which it didn't. And I'm not going to show you that because, again, it is in my live environment, and I don't think you need to see all of my prospects. And two, it can create the activity in the CRM for us, and it's going to email me a copy of my Word template. So if I open up my email here, show you what it looks like. So here I got an email today for Capital Records with my Word document. And then also this would bring me directly to the Laserfiche web access document if I wanted. You could include in your email a link to the folder. You could, really do anything you want with this email notification. I'm going to go ahead and open up this Word doc and we'll see here what's been populated. So here we can see Capital Records, Fake Street. This was pulled from the CRM account that I had just created. It grabbed our main contact, plopped in our date. And then if I scroll down, we can see the table of contents, which is just part of our standard template. I have the ability to update my main solution goals, all that good stuff. And then here is my price estimate. So all of this information from the price estimate in the form is all stored in a SQL database. And so just lines and lines of information on all of our products and costs and things like that, that pull together to create this quote for us. So then here, again, based on who submitted it, it updates the signature block at the end and that initial page at the top. So depending on which representative is filling it out and maybe which office they're filling it out from, this information can dynamically change. So if I was filling this out from my Seattle office, I could have the Seattle address here with, my contact information. I have lots and lots of options. So let's say, I actually think that this proposal is just too much information for me, and I just want to send out a quote instead. So I'm going to go into my task box here in just a second. I will pull it over. Forms, tasks, and where it is. And I'm just going to minimize all of my other tasks again, because this is something that we use regularly. So we keep a copy of all of our quotes in our forms task box by choice. That's not something you need to do at all, but you definitely can. We find it easy because then we've got, another centralized location to look at just the quotes we've generated, and we can take action. So here's that quote. I do have the ability in Forms again to customize this a little bit more. So, if I want this task to be named something, special, I could do that. If I wanted to reassign it, I could. I'm going to go ahead and just open it up because, again, that proposal template is just too much, and I want a little bit less. This is an existing customer. They just want to see what it looks like. So if I approved this, that would and could route for approval internally. It could kick off the contract process so that it dynamically fills our contract instead. I'm just going to go ahead and update it, or I could cancel it out, which would close the task and remove it from my list completely. So update. And then in my email, I will get an updated document, and we'll take a look at what that looks like here. So here's my new email, came in at 122 this time, and if I open up this Word document, we'll see that our standard template changed. So instead of all of that additional language, I've got, just our basic quote preview. So if anybody's getting a quote from CDI and it looks like this, it's being generated from our proposal generation tool. You can also include, proration. So depending on whatever quantities I put in, that's what it's going to calculate and spit out for us. So I'm going to go ahead and just close that out. And then we'll jump back into the CRM in just a second here. And we'll take a look at any changes that may have happened in there. If my system weren't running a little bit slow. Okay, well, I seem to be getting some type of error on the other side, but what would ultimately happen is an activity would get created in here. So anybody who looked at that account would be able to see that Laura had created a quote on this date, and then it would have a link to the folder in Laserfiche, so that I could click the activity in the CRM and see it. So again, the entire organization or whomever should have the ability to see that type of action would be able to see that right from the CRM and know that, oh, Laura's actively working with them, move on. So if we jump back in here to our PowerPoint, wanted to bring up this process outline again and talk about how you can automate this even more. So some organizations, when you're onboarding a new account, a new customer, you have a full new client onboarding, process. So you could use a Laserfiche form to fill out that client onboarding form, push that into the CRM use that form to create the account in the CRM if they didn't already exist, and then collect whatever information. Then when you onboard them, you can maybe have an NDA go out automatically if you needed to. You could set up approval tasks, again, at any point in this process. So this doesn't have to be a proposal process. Again, it can be any type of process. It can be contracts. It can be, onboarding, anything. Email notifications can go out at any step. It can even go out to people outside of your organization. So if I were to have created the quote and I wanted maybe a notification to go out to my client, letting them know, Laura has started your quote, you could have an email go out so that they're updated, every step of the way. And then, once they approve it and they're ready to move forward, then you can have your process flow into that full contract and use Laserfiche and Forms to create that for you automatically. And then from there, if you need to collect fees, Laserfiche Forms allows you to collect payments inside of a form. And so you could tie that all together and then send out a nice little thank you at the end. So as a recap, Laserfiche automation allows you to collect, push, and pull information to and from external databases or other applications to help you create documentation on the fly. So it's great for quotes, proposals, reports. We use this for reporting now. So if you engage again with CDI and you've got an open service package and we're working actively on a case with you, we have reports that go out every Friday letting you know what the status is. So it queries all of the activities from the cases in our CRM, and it creates a nice report that gets emailed directly to any of the contacts listed in the CRM that are allowed to see that report and take action. So Laserfiche, another recap on this process is it helps you ensure standardization across all of your documentation and saves a ton of time. So again, no more hunting and pecking for that, most recent proposal document. It's all there. It's all standardized in Laserfiche, and it goes out the same for everybody. So I'm going to open it up to questions. I do see that we have a couple, which I will get to, but I also want to give just a quick plug that the next webinar coming up is on June 10th, and it's going to be going over workflow basics. So typically the webinars I put on are more process-based. We don't get into the nitty-gritty configuration details, but on June 10th, you'll get a nice, good workflow overview. So then we've got a couple questions in the chat, so feel free to definitely ask away. So I've got one question: does this work with Redtail CRM? And the answer to that is unfortunately not. It is possible that I know that Redtail recently has released an updated API. And so in the past, I know that Redtail only allowed us to do that iframe connectivity. But now I know that we've been able to pull a couple of fields from Redtail. So it is definitely possible that they've released more. But the full integration, as I shown today, right now isn't available with our as is Redtail CRM integration. And then the next question, are you pulling that client list directly from the CRM? Great question. And I want to say yes, but it's actually a no. So there is an external database that's getting updated when we enter information into the CRM that pushes to that SQL table that we then push and pull from live time. The next question is, can I pull values into a form directly from CRM, or does it have to be a local database? So I feel like I do have Steven Kreutzfeldt on the line, who I know has configured this. Steven, would you happen to know the answer to that question?
Yeah, so the answer is no. There's no direct connection between Forms or Laserfiche and your CRM database. What we're doing is querying that and dumping it to a neutral zone, i.e. your SQL table, and then pulling it from that.
Okay. Yeah, so just like the client list, it is going into a separate SQL table. Our next question is this product used by municipalities to take bids and quotes, or is it for generating bids and quotes and proposals? So Becky, I really appreciate that you asked that, because I have something I want to show you. You can have this configured anyway, and most recently we did pull together for an RFP submission the bid options. So if I go into my demo dashboard, again, we use Laserfiche Forms for everything. You can use this for competitive bids. So if somebody needs to request a bid, you can have a Laserfiche form, and then you can make that bid public, and then those submissions can come to you in a certain format so that you can easily compare them, each bid from one solicitor to the next. You can compare them all in a Laserfiche form, making it really easy. And I would love to show you that. Becky, I'll reach out separately, and maybe we can set up a time to kind of go through that and your options. Proposal Word documents store in a database. So for the proposal templates, so the question was, proposal Word documents store in a database, and I think this is just an inquiry as to where the template gets stored. So we typically store our template on the workflow server, so it references there. But you can most certainly keep the template in Laserfiche and then have the workflow call on that specific folder and then populate it. So you can have it set up kind of either way. You've got options. Next question is, can I kick off tasks in CRM from a form or workflow? Yes, definitely you can. Perfect. So to go back to that, can I kick off tasks in the CRM from a form or a workflow? Most definitely. So again, when I went into my forms dashboard and I went here, our account meetings recap, I can open up a case if I wanted to. And so this is not the right form or the right template type for it, but I could create a task or a CRM case that my support department then gets notified, hey, a new case has been assigned to you, and then they take necessary steps. So again, any entity in your CRM, we can push and pull and create information from. So if you've got a task, we can definitely do that. And if that task in your CRM or a certain field that's populated in your CRM kicks off a CRM workflow, we can definitely engage to fill in that field to have that automation kicked off on the CRM side. So we have another question. When you send the Word doc to a user for review, can he or she submit requested edits via email, or does he or she have to jump back into Forms and submit the requested edits? So that's kind of a loaded question. If your users are collaborating on a contract or proposal of some type, and it's created a Word document and they make edits to it. In Laserfiche, you do have the ability to apply version control so you can see who's doing what at any point. And if they are participating in the process, they have the ability to do that as a full user. But if they are not a full user, then they would have to, submit, hey, I want to change this and this in a form or send it to you in an email. There are a couple of different ways you can configure that depending on, how users are interacting with it. And so, again, we are happy to talk about that a little bit more in your process and help you flush it out. Just reach out and I can also shoot an email. So we are limited to contacts, account, and lead entities. No, you are not limited by that. If you have, any of the fields in your CRM, whether it's an account or a lead or a contact or, their contact information, an address field, whatever it is, we have the ability to interact with it. So, we can push and pull all that information. Hopefully.
That does include custom fields as well.
Yeah.
All of those are queryable and things like that.
Exactly. If you have more questions on that specifically, or you've got more of a specific use case, again, I'm happy to reach out, help you through it, and we can talk about it more. Perfect. All right. Any other questions? I appreciate all of these. You were all definitely a lively group today. If anybody thinks of anything else, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. If you just email sales@cdi.support, we'll get you in touch with your appropriate account manager. Otherwise, again, you can reach out to me directly. I'm just Laura at citiesdigital.com. We are all here ready and happy to help with whatever questions you've got. Thank you again, everybody, for your time. Please take a moment to fill out the survey at the end. Let us know your feedback. Let us know. I think there are fields now where you can actually submit what you would like to see in the future. If not, let me know. Reach out to sales and we can get something else on the docket for webinars in the future. Thanks again. Bye, everyone.